Hello everyone, welcome to the Global Impact Virtual Conference hosted by ISTE Community Leaders. My name is Nicholas. I am an elementary and junior high school English teacher and an instructional technology coach. I am also Google for Education Certified Innovator living in Japan, in Nagano Prefecture. This session is called Transitioning into a Self-Paced Student-Centered Learning Environment in Japanese Public Schools. And I will be sharing with you how educators on this side of the planet have been trying to improve the quality of education for young learners. I hope you will find this presentation both informational and useful. And I hope that it might show you a different way to approach this challenge, which many educators around the world are currently facing. So, let's begin. So, first of all, these are the topics I will cover today. First, I will give you a quick walkthrough into Japan's educational system. Then I will talk about the Ministry of Education's goals and the current situation and challenges teachers currently face in the classroom. First of all, Japan's educational system is a little bit different from the rest of the world. First of all, you have 6 years of elementary school, 3 years of junior high school, and 3 years of senior high school. Compulsory education is elementary school and junior high school, so students don't have to attend senior high school. The school year starts every year in April and ends in March. So there's like just 2 weeks between the end of the school year and the beginning of the new school year. But kids get around 3 weeks to a month break in summer. There are 3 semesters. The first starts in April and goes from April to July. Second semester is from the end of August till December. And the third semester is January to March. The education style is also very different between the different elementary school, junior high school, and senior high school. Elementary school students, basically the school starts around 8 in the morning and ends around 4 p.m. So during the day, the kids have the opportunity to both learn new things, so traditional studying, like geography, Japanese, their mother tongue, foreign languages, English, social studies, moral education, and so on. But they also spend a lot of time learning more practical skills. You have cooking, you have kind of gardening. They also learn how to iron shirts and so on. So basically they try to cover all the essential skills that students need to become more autonomous. And then instead, junior high school and senior high school focus more on studying and club activities, so sports or any kind of more specific skills that the students want to learn. They can choose whichever they want to. Elementary school, on one side, it's not very, they don't really focus that much on testing. Of course, you have tests, but they still advance to the next year. They don't stop students. They don't need to repeat years. Whether they get top scores or they get 0, they still move to the next grade. And this happens both elementary school and junior high school. So as long as we're talking about compulsory education, they will never have to repeat a year. But whereas in elementary school, the focus is not much on the score, but more on acquiring the skill, junior high school and senior high school are very focused on tests, high-stake tests. If they want to move, for example, if junior high school students want to choose a high standard senior high school, they will have to get a specific score on their tests. Same goes for senior high school. If they want to attend a specific university, they need a certain score overall. So there's kind of this gap between elementary school and junior high school, senior high school, where elementary school is like, no, you don't need to focus too much on the score, learn together, try to acquire new things, learn, be curious, and so on. And instead, in junior high school, the students really feel this pressure where they need to achieve a certain score, they need to pass specific exams, and so they don't really think about what do I want to learn, but more of what do I have to learn. But things are changing, hopefully, and I will talk more about this in the next chapter. So MEC's goals. MEC's is the is short for Ministry of Education and Technology and Sports. Well, basically the Ministry of Education. In 2020, the MEC's basically started the GigaSchool initiative. GigaSchool stands for Global and Innovation Gateway for All. Now, the original plan for this GigaSchool was basically prepare students for Society 5.0. Very grand goal. Basically, 21st century skills. They call it Society 5.0. And so basically, they wanted teachers to be able to prepare students for society, not just tests. Okay, so they were trying to change the focus from test-based education to more inclusive, more creative. And in order to do so, the goal, basically the initiative, also included funds for schools to purchase devices for the students. So basically move to a one-to-one learning environment. And basically promote student-centered teaching. Now, this was the what they were planning. However, in that year, basically, we all know that COVID, right? And so basically, because of COVID, schools had to close. And so basically, the plan was kind of like they decided to, it was supposed to be something like slowly move into the GigaSchool initiative, but then as students couldn't attend school anymore, basically the focus moves on to let's give them the devices immediately so they can attend school remotely. And so the entire GigaSchool initiative turned into a remote teaching project. The teachers immediately had to learn by themselves because no training was provided in that short span. They had to immediately learn how to use computers, in this case Chromebooks or iPads, or even Microsoft software, but mostly Chromebooks, and how to assign homework to students. It wasn't very it wasn't that nice. Teachers were very nervous, angry. Students suddenly were given this device without even discussing about how to use it and when, the purpose, and basically, so a complete lack of guidance. And I really like this, lost in translation. So the goal, and instead how it turned out, to how the teachers interpreted the goals of the GigaSchool, basically turned into a pure ICT. So the teachers were like, oh, we need to use ICT, we need to use ICT. Which basically brought to the situation where instead of redesigning education, they were simply replacing tools. I'm not giving you a paper worksheet, I'm giving you a digital worksheet. not giving you paper-based homework. I'm giving you digital-based homework. And in some cases, it was working fine. In other cases, it wasn't working at all because they weren't really looking at the goal. They were just trying to replace things. So what happens next? Basically, this went on for 2 years. Then from 2020 to 2023, finally, COVID emergency kind of like went down, kind of settled, let's say. And so what's happening right now? Basically, we finally managed to move towards focusing on how to create a student-centered environment. And basically, in the last 2 years, the Ministry of Education has been really pushing forward towards the self-directed learning strategies. Very short. Basically, the teacher is not teaching the entire class for the entire period. The students basically take control of their learning. They have a specific goal and they need to achieve those goals. How they do that, they have different ways. And these ways, basically, the government has basically recognized 4 stages, 4 levels. Okay, and the first level, basically, teachers should introduce activities inside the hour, let's say, inside that period, activities that the students can complete in a classroom either by themselves or with the help of their peers. Now, why is this important? Because this is where the students finally start thinking about the tools. Okay, for this task, should I use a paper textbook? Should I use paper and pen? Or can I use my laptop? Should I use a digital textbook? And so on. So they're still very limited, but inside this very limited space, the students finally think about how they want to proceed. And this is also a very easy step for teachers to finally move from just teaching the entire period, just let's do this, let's do that, let's do this all together, and start giving students a little bit of autonomy. After they're finally comfortable with this stage, stage number two is basically to share the entire flow of the lesson with the students. Of course, even in Japan, we've always had for 8 years now, at least when they started introducing universal design, every hour the teachers are supposed to be sharing today's goal. Okay, so today's goal, we're going to talk about this and learn about this. And at the end of the class, the students usually complete a review form. It's called furikaeri, where basically they reflect on the class, what they've learned, and what was hard, and so on. But instead now, the second stage basically requires teachers to basically share with the students, okay, this is the goal, and these are all of the steps, all of the stages, all of the activities that we're going to complete in order to reach today's goal. So, and inside of these, some are still teacher-led, and they start adding more and more activities that the students should be able to complete by themselves or with their peers. So that's the second step. Now, the third step instead starts giving students even more autonomy. So basically at this stage, the students start planning activities. So you give them the entire lesson plan as usual, but instead of giving all of the activities to reach the goal from 1 to 10, you start leaving, okay, the third, activity 3 or activity 5, you can either choose from a list of side activities. For example, do you want to practice your writing? Here, worksheets are over there. Do you want to practice listening? here, try listening to these recordings. Do you want to practice reading? These are the available books. And so the students basically, based on the skills that they feel they need to practice more, they can choose what they how they want to fill that slot, basically. So this is giving them even more responsibility. Stage number 4 is the final one. It's the holy grail, let's say, where students basically plan the entire unit. So start by planning a class, a lesson, and then move towards planning an entire unit. So this is the unit goal. How are you planning on reaching this goal? So the students, through backwards planning, they start from the goal and they go back considering what skills they need. And this is completely tailored to the student. So if one student, for example, in my case, I teach English as a foreign language. Many students attend English classes outside of school. Maybe they already know how to speak and their listening skills are very strong. However, they still need to practice more reading and writing. So for them, looking at the goal, for example, a self-introduction activity, they already know how to talk about themselves, but they never really had the opportunity to write. So for them, the lesson plan, the unit plan that they're going to design will include some parts of speaking and listening just to keep up and keep the skills running and active, but they're mostly going to focus on reading and writing. If by the end of the unit, for the final performance task, they're able to deliver, that's the best outcome. And of course, this requires lots of trial and error testing. So you also need to keep some time for retesting, let's say. But basically, this is what the Ministry of Education wants education to look like in Japan. So basically, students completely in control of their learning. How's the situation right now? Biggest challenges. So teachers have never received training for this. So they're completely unaware, or if they know about these goals, they have no idea how to actually implement these strategies in a classroom. Unfortunately, teachers in Japan, I'm pretty sure in the rest of the world too, don't have time to invest in professional development. They're in school from almost 6 a.m., 7 a.m. in the morning until 8 p.m. at night. Go home, have dinner, spend maybe some time with their family, and then they have to go back to school again. So it's unrealistic to expect them to invest in professional development outside of teaching hours. At the same time, they have so many things they need to take care of in school. So there's this huge problem where how are they going to learn? How are they going to be able to take the first step into moving towards this new type of teaching? Another big problem in Japan is lack of teachers. Most teachers, the huge majority of teachers, are 40 years old and up. Many teachers who had retired had to come back because there were no homeroom teachers available. And so for these teachers who have taught standard teaching, teacher versus students, for the entire period, have taught this way for 40, 50 years, asking them, hey, it's time to learn a completely new teaching style. You can imagine that, of course, some teachers are up for the challenge, but many of them are not interested. Then again, there are not even no clear guidelines. What I shared with you before is just these are the stages, the different levels you need to move, the steps, let's say. But how do you actually do this in your subject, right? There's nothing like that. And again, as I was saying before, goals are not aligned. Elementary school is probably the best place where you could start this kind of teaching style, since they're not really focused on the exam, the final exam. But how about junior high school and senior high school, where the goal is for them to take the same test, right? So they need to get there with the same set of skills. How can you... It takes a lot of courage to be like, I'm gonna let you plan the units. I'm sure you're gonna get there, and I'm sure you're gonna be able to pass the test. So, what is the solution that the Ministry of Education has come up for the moment? Basically, active research. Instead of sending out guidelines on guidelines, they're running some research programs in selected schools. Currently, there are two main research programs. The first is the Leading DX School. DX stands for Digital Transformation, and basically these are schools that are trying to implement educational technology effectively in the classroom, and that are trying to move towards a more student-led teaching style, learning style. But by active research, I mean that basically these schools have to share the results of their planning and research, and they also need to basically host open classes for other teachers from other schools to come and watch. And these classes can be either you can either join these classes physically in person by going to the school, or online on Zoom. So instead of just telling them how to do things, they're pushing on showing them how they can do this. The second program instead is fairly new, which is the AI School program, which basically they're trying to use AI in the classroom and again see how things move forward, challenges, and so on. And again, these recordings are shared nationwide with other teachers. One other thing I would like to share is that one of the biggest problems is that many Japanese teachers don't know English. So a lot of the research that's out there, especially in the US or in Europe, they don't have access to all of this. So Japanese education is very closed. They only, most of them just rely on information coming from within a country, which basically is the reason why on this, at least on this topic, they're very behind compared to the US or Europe. So the reason why I wanted to share all of this was because I'm trying to build new bridges between Japanese schools and foreign schools. It would be great if I could have like teachers attend virtually classes happening on the other side of the world. And even if they don't really get the language, even seeing how the teachers move, how the students interact with the teacher, between themselves and with the learning materials, that could really help make a change. And so basically I would really like to hear what's to connect with you, what's happening in your country. So please reach out. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. This is my email address, or we can also connect on Twitter, well, now X. Thanks again for watching this session as part of the Global Impact Virtual Conference hosted by ISTE community leaders. Please watch other sessions, including those pre-recorded and those offered live. You can join in the conversation throughout the conference on ISTE Connect and social media using hashtag ISTE Global and hashtag ISTE Community. See you!